Hi guys, David O'Sullivan here and welcome back to a new 2017 edition of Monthly Film Roundup. In this video I'll be looking back at all the films released in March and giving you my quick thoughts on each one of the films that I saw. As you may have figured, I didn't see every film that was released in March. There were a couple of films that I wanted to see that I didn't get the chance to. Get Out was actually released here in the UK in March. I still haven't had the chance to see Get Out yet. And also Power Rangers. I'm not overly interested in Power Rangers. I did want to go and check it out though, but as of right now, I still have not yet seen Power Rangers either. So those two films I won't be talking about in this video. But as far as the films that I have seen in this video, the films that I'll be talking about are Logan, Kong Skull Island, Beauty and the Beast, The Lost City of Zed, A Silent Voice, Life, Free Fire, and Ghost in the Shell. First up, the earliest film that was released in March, it is of course Logan. Now if you've seen my review, you'll know that I absolutely love Logan. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic film. There's not much point spending a lot more time talking about it here because I've already talked about it a lot already. I've done a film review for Logan as well as a spoiler talk for the film as well. So I'm not going to go too much into what I like about it here because I've already got those other two videos in which I spend like 20 minutes talking about the film. But yeah, I thought Logan was really great. I'm not ready to put it on like a really high pedestal of like one of the best comic book movies of all time, but it certainly has a lot in common with some of my favourite comic book movies in that it's a comic book movie that doesn't really feel like a stereotypical, generic, cliche comic book movie. It's essentially a character-driven drama that just happens to feature characters who have superpowers. And that's what I love so much about this film, because it's not about kind of saving the world, it's not about some world-destroying threat, it's much more personal, and the stakes are so much higher because of that, because it's not about, like I said, saving a city or saving the world. There's not some big world-destroying threat at the end of the film. It's about these characters, and it's about what's at stake for them personally as people, and it's about kind of mortality, and it's about growing old, it's about being in pain, it's about kind of facing kind of death and like facing kind of your fate. And there's some really kind of quite dark, deep kind of themes and, you know, issues that are explored in this film, and I thought it was really great. Probably one of the most mature kind of and serious kind of grown-up comic book movies I've ever seen. I think it is really great, and it's currently my favourite film of the year so far. And it's not just because it's a comic book movie, but I honestly think it is a fantastic film, really great. Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart are phenomenal in the movie. I don't know if they will get nominated for Oscars. I don't know if the film's going to get nominated for any awards come next year, but I really hope it does, because if any comic book movie is worthy of getting nominated for some non-technical Oscars, it's Logan, because Hugh Jackman's swan song in the role, Patrick Stewart's quite possible last performance as Professor X, they're both absolutely fantastic in this film. Give probably the best performances in those characters that they've ever given before. So yeah, as you may have figured, I absolutely love Logan, and I would say that Logan is, for me, a 5-star film, and I would say it is an absolute must-see. Going on to the next film now, and it is Kong Skull Island. Now, I didn't think Kong Skull Island was a fantastic film. Again, I've also done another kind of film review for Kong Skull Island, and if you'll see my review, you'll know that I don't think it was a great film, but I still did really enjoy Kong for what it was, because, you know, if you take it as what it is, a big, fun, dumb, kind of almost B-rate kind of monster movie, it is a lot of fun. You know, it's, if you want a kind of a real kind of serious dramatic film, it probably won't work for you. Godzilla went more down that route of being more serious, more dramatic, and I probably prefer Godzilla. But I also really enjoyed Kong for what it was, because it wasn't so dull and dreary, and we actually saw a lot more of the monsters. We saw a lot of Kong, we saw a lot of Kong going up against these creatures, and really at the end of the day, when you go to see a King Kong movie, you want to see King Kong, and you want to see King Kong fighting monsters, and the movie really delivered on that. However, I did have some problems with the characterization. I don't think the characters were very well drawn or very well developed at all. At the end of the day, a lot of people don't really care about characters in a Kong movie, but for me, I want every movie to have good characters, because at the end of the day, you're not going to care about what's going on, and you're not going to be invested if you don't really care about these characters. And I think the actors all did a really good job of what they were given, but at the end of the day, the characters weren't really fleshed out and developed as much as they should have been. They were almost like caricatures of real people. Again, it worked because it was a fun, silly, dumb, over-the-top monster movie, and the crowd in which I saw the film in really enjoyed it, and they were laughing throughout. And John C. Reilly was really great in that comedic relief role. So I don't think Kong was necessarily the greatest film. I think it could have been a lot better. I think it could have been improved upon, definitely. But for what it was and for what it needed to do, I think it really worked. It was a big, dumb, fun, action-packed monster movie, and I did enjoy Kong, even though I did have some problems with it. So overall, I'm going to give Kong Skull Island 3 stars and say that you'll definitely get your money's worth. And now going on to the next film, and this is a film that I didn't get the chance to review, the only film I'm talking about it in this video that I haven't actually put a review up for, and that is Beauty and the Beast. I have to admit, I personally really like Beauty and the Beast. I know the response has been quite mixed, and more positive than negative, but a lot of the die-hard fans of the original weren't really happy with this live-action remake, if you will. For me, I really enjoyed it. I was never the biggest, most hardcore fan of the original. I think the original 1991 animated film is a classic for sure. It is a really great film. I do really like the film. It's just not one of the Disney films that I loved as a kid. It's not the one that I really gravitated towards. I was more of a I don't know, Bambi, Jungle Book, Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood kind of guy, if you will. So Beauty and the Beast was never really my kind of thing as a kid, but I did like this live-action remake. It reminded me what I love so much about the original, and the original probably is better. The way I see it is, I don't really like comparing them, but if I had to, I would say that the original is better in terms of the visuals and the music, and the new one's better in terms of the story and the characters, because, the most die-hard fan of Beauty and the Beast, you can admit that the original, it's not perfect, it's not without its flaws. It doesn't have anything that ruins the film, but there's lots of little nitpicky minor things here and there in the original film which don't really make sense or add up. And the live action movie for me actually improved upon a lot of those little flaws with the original film. They fleshed out the characters a lot more, they developed the story more, so it's perfectly fine in the original animated film, but fleshing it out into a 2-hour live action movie, they had to develop certain things and strengthen certain things and alter and add to certain things as well. And for me, they actually improved upon the original animated film in certain respects. Like I said, I think as far as the visuals are concerned, the original is definitely the best, and obviously all the music from the original film as well. Even though I like the additions in the new movie, I love the new song Evermore that the Beast sings. I think that was a great addition, by far the best addition in the new movie. And yeah, even though there are some changes that were made, I think a lot of the changes were actually made sense, and I'm glad they had those alterations in there, because as I said, there's some things that happen in the original film. For instance, the horse knows where to take Belle. I'm like, hang on, how the hell does the horse know where her dad went? Where in this film, the horse actually goes with Maurice to the castle, so now it makes sense that the horse knows where the dad went and knows what happened to him. So just little things like that the original did, where it didn't quite make sense to add up, but the live action movie had these alterations and these additions, which I think just only improved upon the story and the characters for me. So yeah, it wasn't perfect. I had some problems as far as the CGI of the Beast sometimes didn't look quite right. Sometimes it almost looked unfinished. You could tell in certain shots when he's walking that it would almost look like a CGI, animatic. It didn't actually look like a real being. For the most part, it worked for me though. There were some little problems like that sucked me out of the film a bit, but overall, I actually really enjoyed Beauty and the Beast, and I thought it was a really good film. So I'm going to give Beauty and the Beast 4 stars and say that I think it's definitely worth checking out. Now going into the next film, and it is A Lost City of Zed. Now this is a film that I thought was absolutely fantastic. I've already done another review for it again, so I'm not going to go too much into it here, but I thought it was a really great film in terms of, it's not been everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone has liked it. Some people have thought it was absolutely amazing, and some people have thought it wasn't very good at all. But for me, it was a film that really kind of connected with me on a deep, profound level. It's quite stylistic in it. It's almost like a homage to the kind of classic British adventure films of the 50s almost, or the Errol Flynn films from back in the day, but it still feels like it's very much its own thing as well. It was quite understated in that it wasn't really over the top and out there in your face. There was a lot kind of going on beneath the surface for me. Like, I could do a whole kind of analysis and kind of in-depth discussion on the film, because there was so much going on with the character of Percy Fawcett and what's going on in his head, and what, the meaning of his actions and the things that he does in the film. Like, I was able to really actually connect with the character of Percy Fawcett and really relate to him, because I always have a yearning for the same kind of thing. I love the jungle, I love animals and nature, and I really like the story of the film, and it's quite unconventional as well. It doesn't end the way you think it would if you're not aware. It's actually a true story. I've since looked into it, and it's a fascinating true story. And I think it was really well told. Charlie Hunnam I thought was great. Robin Pattinson was in this film. He was really great and really kind of stood out as, one of the best things about this film. Tom Holland's in the film for a small part. He was really good. Sienna Miller is again in this film, and she was really great. For me, there wasn't really anything I disliked about this film. You could say there were some issues as far as the pacing was concerned. It's not a fast-paced film, but I think the pacing worked. I liked the fact that it was a bit of a slow burner. I didn't think it would have made sense if it was a really fast-paced, frantic film. I liked it was more of a kind of slow, kind of thoughtful, meditative, kind of almost contemplative kind of drama, if you will, and it wasn't like an action movie. It's not like an Indiana Jones movie, for instance. But yeah, I thought The Lost City's End was fantastic, and I'm going to give it 5 stars and say that it's an absolute must-see. The next film is A Silent Voice, and this is an anime film that I saw that was released here in the UK in March. And again, I thought The Silent Voice was a really good film. If you want to know more about what I think about it in depth, then be sure to check out my review. But even though I don't think it was as good as an anime such as Your Name, which was released earlier, kind of at the end of last year, I thought that was absolutely kind of phenomenal, and it really blew me away. I did still really like A Silent Voice. I think it's unfair to compare them in a way, because they are quite different films. There are some similarities in terms of the deep kind of themes and messages and issues that they explore, but they also are quite different films visually, stylistically, different directors, different kind of production companies behind the films. And it's a female director, I believe, and it's based on the manga of the same name, and it very much looked like a manga brought to life on the screen, and I really love that. And even though it didn't blow me away as something such as Your Name, I still thought it was just as good in its own way, because it was a film that dealt with kind of bullying, very kind of dark themes and issues that were explored, almost kind of like suicide as well. So it might be a bit too much for some viewers. Even fans of anime, I don't think, are going to flat out love the film. I think Your Name was much more of a universally kind of appealing film. This is probably going to have more of a niche audience, because it does deal with themes and raise issues that are quite dark and are quite heavy. I think the film did it in a way that was very respectful and tasteful, and I thought it was a really well-made film. So yeah, it might be a bit too much of a sum in terms of it's quite kind of heavy-handed in its kind of themes, and it is quite dark, and it is quite unconventional. But for me, I really enjoyed the film. I kind of connected with it in a certain respect to some of the messages that are being put across towards the end there. And yeah, I actually really like Silent Voice, so I'm going to give it 4 stars and say that it's definitely worth checking out. And also, Life is another film that I saw, and Life was a film that I wasn't a fan of. I'm not going to spend too much time on it here, because I didn't think it was a great film. It was a competently made film. I enjoyed it to a certain extent. I think it was well made. It was enjoyable in certain parts, but for me, it just did things that kept bugging me. Lots of kind of cliches in the film. It was very kind of formulaic and predictable, I thought. There wasn't anything the film did that was kind of cool or unique that kind of got me interested. Every time I started to get invested in the film, it did something that just pulled me out of the film, and I just felt like there was just too many cliches, too many just stupid, idiotic choices that the characters made that I just really couldn't get on board with. So overall, I wasn't a fan of Life. I'd probably give it 3 stars at a push, because, as I said, it wasn't a bad film. I think it was competently made, but I really wasn't a fan of Life, so I'd say that it was 2 stars, and it's not worth your time. Free Fire was another film that I saw, and I really enjoyed Free Fire. It's probably one of my favourite films so far this year, right up there with Lost City of Z and Logan. It was just a great kind of fun, awesome, balls to the wall kind of action flick. Very funny as well. And also it wasn't just non-stop action like something say like Mad Max. There were kind of breathers in there that helped kind of, you could get your breath in between all the crazy shootout sequences, but it was just so awesome, so fun. It just does what it says on the tin. It's not the most deep, meaningful film or anything, but as far as a film that's just fun and awesome and action-packed and very funny as well, very darkly comedic, and that's what I really liked about this film. I thought Free Fire was a really great time. There wasn't anything I disliked about the film. There wasn't much to it, but I think it was fantastically made, very well directed, very well crafted. So for me, I didn't have anything that I didn't like about Free Fire. I would give it 5 stars and say that it is an absolute must-see, because I personally really enjoyed the film. Finally going on to the last film here, and this is the film that I just most recently reviewed, and it is Ghost in the Shell. And if you've have seen that review, you know that I actually did really like Ghost in the Shell. I don't think it was like flat out amazing, it wasn't spectacular, it didn't blow me away, but it is one of my favourite dystopian sci-fis of the past few years, I would say. I'm a sucker for kind of dystopian, cyberpunk kind of sci-fi films, like Blade Runner is one of my favourite films of all time. I'm not the biggest fan of The Fifth Element, but I do really like that film from a visual perspective, and this film again is visually stunning. It looks fantastic, but I also was able to really connect with and relate to the characters. I think it was compelling and it was engaging. From an emotional perspective for me. It was kind of understated in that respect. It wasn't like really kind of in your face and really overly emotionally compelling, but I liked the fact that it was more restrained and more held back. It reminded me of another one of Scarlett Johansson's films, Under the Skin. It was almost like Under the Skin meets RoboCop in a way, a very weird comparison, but I really got that vibe from it, especially from Scarlett Johansson's performance. And yeah, I really like this kind of film in terms of it being like a cyberpunk crime drama almost. It's not just a full-on Americanized, cliche kind of by the numbers action movie. It's almost like a mystery crime drama, and I really like that. I like the story. I was invested and engaged throughout, even though it wasn't ultra fast paced. There may have been some issues there as far as the pacing, but overall I really enjoyed Ghost in the Shell for what it was, and I thought it was actually a really great film. So Ghost in the Shell I would give 4 stars to and say that it's definitely worth checking out. Well, at least I enjoyed it anyway. And there we go, that wraps up my monthly film roundup for March. There was a lot of films that came out. It was almost like a June or July, and there was a lot of big, like almost summer blockbuster movies, but then also a lot of other indies and anime films that I really appreciated as well. But as far as my pick of the month would go, for me, my best film of the month, and for me the best film of the year so far, it has to be Logan. And there we go, that wraps up my review for the films that were released in March. What do you think was the best film that was released in March? Also, I've got a Twitter poll that I'm going to put up on my Twitter. If you click on the link in the description below, you'll be able to find me on Twitter at DA_O'Sullivan, and you can be able to put your vote for what you think was the best film of the month, and then next month's episode I'll be able to give my kind of audience choice, my audience pick of the month, if you will. But there we have it, that wraps up my monthly film roundup for March. What do you think about the month of March for films as a whole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this, then be sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.